I never thought I'd be the guy writing a story like this, but here I am. It's not about some silly crush or petty jealousy. This is about betrayal, deep, gut-wrenching, lied to 4 years betrayal, and how I'm finally doing something about it. Sarah and I had been together for 6 years. We met in college, shared everything, and I thought I knew her inside out. She was the kind of girl who seemed too perfect, always polite, always sweet, the one who never caused trouble. Our wedding was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. I never saw the cracks, not until the cracks shattered everything in one terrible moment. It started about a week before the wedding. I was busy, of course, finalizing details, making sure everything was on schedule. Sarah was acting a little distant, but I brushed it off. She'd been stressed with the planning, and honestly, I was just too caught up in the excitement. Still, I noticed her phone buzz a lot. She'd quickly swipe it away if I got close. A few times she left her phone on the kitchen counter, and I caught glimpses of messages from some guy, nothing explicit, but enough to make my stomach tighten. I mentioned it once, joking, "Hey, who's Mark, your new best friend?" She just smiled and changed the subject. Nothing suspicious at all, right? I wanted to believe it was just a harmless friend, but something about her reaction stuck with me. Then about 3 days before the wedding, I caught her looking at her phone in a way I'd never seen before. Her eyes darted around, her fingers trembling slightly as she quickly deleted a message. That was the real red flag. I pressed her and she dismissed it with a quick laugh. "It's just work stuff, relax," she said, but I could tell she was lying. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept turning over her strange behavior in my mind. I kept thinking about her secretive glances and that phone. I decided to check her messages when she was in the shower. I knew it was wrong, dirty, even breaking her privacy like that, but I was desperate for answers, and I found it, a message from Mark. Short and simple, "Can't wait to see you tonight." My hands froze over the screen. My stomach dropped like I'd been punched in the gut. I scrolled down and saw evidence of a planned rendezvous. Room service was ordered under a fake name. They'd been sneaking around behind my back all along. I felt my face go numb, my palms sweat. My mind raced. How could she do this? How could she lie for so long? The wedding, everything, it was all a lie. I wanted to throw up. Instead, I sat there, stunned, staring at her phone like a fool. I knew I had to confront her, but I also knew I needed to plan carefully. I couldn't trust her anymore. I had to get revenge, but in a way that would hit her hard and make her regret everything. I took a deep breath, feeling the cold sweat on my forehead. I had a plan. I'd wait until the right moment, gather more evidence, and then I'd see her face when I finally revealed the truth. I didn't want to just walk away broken. I wanted her to feel the weight of what she'd done, and I'd make sure she paid for her betrayal. The next morning, I woke up with a mix of fury and clarity. I didn't want her to see me as the same guy who'd been blind to her lies. I wanted to be the guy who could end this, who could walk away knowing I'd turned her own game against her. I had a plan forming in my mind, and I was going to take my time executing it. No rushing, no hasty moves, just cold, calculated revenge. I stared at her sleeping figure, packed my bag with a sense of purpose. I was about to start the real game. But for now, I kept my face calm, hiding the storm inside. Because I knew one thing. Once I moved, there was no going back, and I was ready. The next few days felt like walking on thin ice. Every time I saw Sarah, I could feel my jaw tight and my fists clenching. I wanted to punch something, anything, because the betrayal etched itself deep into my skin. I kept reminding myself I needed patience. Revenge wasn't about acting on impulse. It had to be calculated, precise. I spent those days gathering every scrap of evidence I could find. Her phone was a goldmine. I installed a discreet app that allowed me to monitor her messages and calls without her noticing. I didn't want to snoop, well, not exactly. I just needed to understand how deep her lies went, how long she'd been sneaking around behind my back. The more I watched, the more I saw. She was texting Mark constantly, late nights, secret codes, little jokes only they understood. Sometimes she'd leave her door unlocked when she went out. I'd see her sneak out at odd hours, her face tense and her movements stiff. It was like I was watching a spy movie, only I was the victim. One night I followed her. I stayed a few steps behind, eyes on her silhouette moving through the dark. She slipped into a hotel parking lot in a fancy part of town. My pulse kicked up. I parked a few blocks away, my stomach twisting painfully. I watched her get into a car with Mark. They drove off together, and I swear I could hear my heartbeat pounding in my ears. I didn't follow them into the hotel. That would be too obvious. But I made sure to remember the name, the room number, everything. I got back to my place, heart racing. I needed to plan how I'd make her see that I knew. I was furious, but I knew I had to play this smart. The next day, I started setting my plan into motion. I booked a room at the same hotel under a different fake name. I found a way to get the key without raising suspicion. I wasn't planning on crashing their rendezvous, at least not yet. I just wanted to be close enough to see what they'd do, to catch them in the act again if possible. While I waited, I made some calls. My lawyer, a private investigator I knew from work. I wanted to make sure I had solid proof, a way to hit her where it would hurt most. When I told the pie what I was after, he hesitated for a second and then said, "You sure about this? It's not just about catching her, it's about what happens after." I clenched my fists and said, "Yeah, I'm sure. I want her to see that I know, that I'm not stupid. I want her to regret what she's done." My plan was simple but cruel: stalk her, gather enough evidence, confront her with it, and then make her realize she'd lost everything. I knew I couldn't just walk away, not after everything. I wanted her to understand that she'd been caught in her own web and I was the spider now. That night I sat in my hotel room waiting. I didn't sleep much, just stared at the ceiling while my mind spun. I thought about everything I'd lost: the wedding, my trust, the future I'd dreamed of. It all imploded with one phone call, one secret meeting. Now I was just waiting for the right moment to turn the tables. I knew she'd come back to the hotel. I had to be ready. My stomach felt tight, like a fist clenched inside me, but I kept my face cold. If she saw how much this hurt, I'd lose my edge. I had to stay sharp. When I saw her figure approaching the door, my heart hammered. I waited until she was inside, then slipped my key into the lock. I was in. I had the high ground now, and I was going to use it. I took a deep breath, feeling the adrenaline rush through my veins, and prepared myself for what was coming. The moment I exposed her would be the moment she realized I wasn't just some pushover who got played. I was the man who played to win, no matter how dirty the game got. That night I sat in the dark, watching her through the window of the hotel room. My palms were sweaty, and my stomach was a knot of anger and satisfaction all at once. I'd done my homework, set the trap, and now I was waiting for her to walk right into it. The air was thick with the smell of stale cigarette smoke and neon lights from the street outside. It was quiet except for her faint footsteps, the rustle of a bag, and her shaky breath. I remember feeling a strange calm, like I'd finally found my footing after all those days of chaos. She was coming back, and I'd be ready. She didn't know I was in the room next door, listening, watching, waiting. I could hear her trying to quietly unlock the door, her keys trembling. When she finally slipped inside, I clutched the edge of the table, my knuckles white. Her voice barely above a whisper. "Mark, are you sure about this? We shouldn't." "Relax," a familiar voice responded, low and rough. "No one's gonna know, just focus on us, we'll handle everything." I felt my jaw tighten. She was nervous, but she was still playing her game. I could see her eyes dart around the room, looking for some sign of security, some way out, but she wasn't going anywhere now. I had everything I needed. I slowly stepped out from my hiding spot, making just enough noise to let her know I was there. Her eyes widened in shock. She froze, clutching her purse like a shield. Mark looked just as stunned, caught in the act. I've never seen two people try so hard to pretend they weren't guilty. "Sarah," I said flatly, voice cold but steady. "Didn't think I'd find you like this, huh?" She looked like she wanted to disappear. Her cheeks flushed, eyes darting around, searching for an escape route. Mark's face was pale, sweating now. She opened her mouth to say something, probably to deny, but I held up a hand. "You lied to me for months," I said, voice rising just enough to cut through the silence. "Pretended everything was perfect, didn't you? While you were upstairs with him, planning your little secret rendezvous." She finally found. Her voice trembling. "It's not what it looks like." "Oh, I think I have enough evidence," I interrupted, pulling out the phone I'd hidden in my pocket. I scrolled to the messages, the hotel reservation, the secret texts. Her face went ghostly pale as I read them out loud. "Can't wait to see you tonight," I quoted, voice dripping with contempt. "You've been lying, cheating, sneaking around behind my back. And the worst part, all those years I never even suspected." She looked ready to break, tears welling up but not falling. Mark shifted uncomfortably, caught between guilt and fear. I took a step closer, feeling the adrenaline surge. "You know what's coming next," I said quietly. "You'll never see me again after today, but I want you to remember this moment when you thought you could get away with everything while I was just blind enough not to see the truth." For a second, silence. Then she whispered, "Please don't do this. Just talk to me." "No," I said sharply. "No more talking. You've lied enough. I've lost enough. And I'm not going to let this slide." I turned to the door and reached inside my coat pocket. "I've got the proof, and I've got something else for you." I pulled out a small envelope containing the hotel keycard and the printouts of their messages. "Here's your proof. I want you to keep it as a reminder of what happens when you betray someone who trusted you." Her eyes flickered with panic as I handed her the envelope. Mark's face was a mix of shame and fear. I didn't bother sticking around for their reactions. I just walked out, feeling a strange sense of relief mixed with pure rage. I'd finally exposed her. The game was over. Back in my car, I sat there for a long minute, my hands trembling slightly. I felt the weight of everything lift, but I knew this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of what I'd do next. I had the evidence. I had the power. And I was ready to walk away, knowing I'd finally taken control of my life again. This was the moment I'd always feared but also secretly wanted. The moment I'd turn the tables and make her see she'd lost. And I knew deep down that once I sealed this chapter, I'd never look back. The fallout was immediate, but not in the way I expected. I thought I'd feel a rush of satisfaction, finally confronting her, revealing everything, watching her crumble. Instead, a strange emptiness settled in. That night I sat alone in my apartment, staring at the envelope I'd handed her, feeling like I'd just gone through the motions of a fight I'd already lost. The next morning, I woke up to a text from Sarah. Simple, direct. "We need to talk." My stomach clenched. I knew what was coming. She'd try to plead her case, to explain it away, to guilt me into forgiving her. But I was done playing her game. I met her in a small coffee shop near her office. Her eyes looked tired, swollen, like she'd been crying all night. She sat across from me, fidgeting with her hands. "I know you're upset," she started, voice trembling. "But I didn't mean for it to go this far. It was just a mistake. I was confused, and Mark—" "Stop," I cut her off. "You lied for months. You lied about everything. You knew what you were doing, and I found out because I caught you. You're not just confused, you're a liar, a cheater, and someone I can't trust anymore." She looked down, tears streaming down her face now. "Please, I didn't want you to find out like this. I was going to tell you, but I was scared you'd leave. I thought I could fix it, that it wouldn't matter when I married you." I felt my jaw tighten. "You should have told me the day you started sneaking around. Instead, you chose to keep this secret, to betray me. And for what? A stupid fling." A moment of excitement. My voice cracked, but I kept going. "You put everything we had at risk, Sarah, everything." She reached across the table, her fingers trembling. "I love you. I made a terrible mistake. Please, I'll do anything to fix this." I looked at her, feeling nothing but cold. I'd been patient, I'd given her chances, more than she deserved. I'd been a fool to think I could fix this. I finally understood that some betrayals are unforgivable and some wounds never heal. "I don't want to hear it," I said sharply. "You lied, you cheated, and you thought you could get away with it, but I have the proof. And I have the entire hotel surveillance, the messages, everything. It's over, Sarah, I'm done." She burst into tears, clutching her head. "Please don't do this. I swear I'll change. I love you." "Love doesn't mean enough anymore," I replied. "It's about trust, and you've destroyed that, so this is goodbye." I stood up, feeling like I was carrying a lead weight. I reached into my pocket, pulling out the envelope I'd kept with the proof. "There's everything," I said, sliding it across the table. "Keep it. Remember what happens when you betray someone who cares about you." She looked at me, her eyes pleading, but I didn't care. I turned and walked away, feeling a strange mix of relief and anger. I'd finally done what I promised myself I'd do, cut her out of my life for good. Back in my car, I stared at the empty street, the cold wind biting through my jacket. I knew I'd just ended a chapter I'd never get back. The pain was real. The betrayal cut deep, but I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I'd taken back my dignity, my pride. I was free from that toxic web. Looking in the rearview mirror, I saw her silhouette watching me from the sidewalk. I didn't look back. I just drove away, leaving her behind, knowing I'd rebuilt myself from this mess. And here's the thing I learned. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just exposing the truth. It's walking away, clean and unbroken, knowing you've finally taken control. That's what made me feel alive again. The days that followed were a blur, honestly. I thought I'd feel some kind of victory, that knee-jerk rush of triumph, but mostly I just felt exhausted, like I'd been holding my breath for too long. Still, I knew I'd done the right thing. Walking away was the hardest choice, but also the clearest. I'd torn down the web of lies she'd spun around us, and now I had to deal with the fallout. Word got around faster than I expected. I didn't advertise what I'd uncovered, but somehow the truth slipped out. Friends I trusted, family even, started asking questions. It was inevitable. I heard whispers, saw her name in conversations I didn't want to be part of. People are curious, especially when a wedding gets called off out of nowhere. I kept my distance, refused to explain more than I needed to, and let the gossip do its thing. A few days later, I ran into Mark at a mutual friend's gathering. He looked uncomfortable, like he'd swallowed a lemon. I didn't say much. I just nodded. I could see the guilt, the shame, all the things I'd been feeling bottled up inside. Honestly, I didn't want to punch him. I just wanted him to understand what he'd lost: me, my trust, the person he thought was his friend. The worst part, Sarah's apology texts started coming in. Not long after I'd walked away from her, she'd sent a few. Heartfelt pleading. She said she was sorry, that she didn't mean for everything to blow up like this, that she still loved me, that she'd do anything to fix it. I read those messages over and over, feeling my stomach turn every time. I didn't respond. I knew I shouldn't feed her hope. She'd betrayed me, and I wasn't going to let her think she still had a chance. But I did think about her. A lot. I kept replaying. That night, the moment I finally saw her face, the sick feeling in my gut when I realized she'd lied all along. I wondered if she truly understood the damage she'd done. Did she even care? Or was she just sorry she got caught? That's what hurt the most, knowing she'd played me for so long and I was only a pawn in her game. I threw myself into work and friends. I needed to stay busy. I also started therapy just to process everything. It's funny, I never thought I'd need that kind of help, but I did. Bottling up anger, betrayal, heartbreak, it doesn't just go away. I learned to sit with the feelings, to acknowledge them, and to remind myself that I was better off without her. Better alone than with someone who'd destroy everything we built. Over time, the sting faded a little. I stopped checking my phone every 5 minutes, stopped replaying the scene in my head. I even started dating again. Not seriously, not yet, but enough to remind myself that life goes on, that I'm still here, still standing. And the more I moved forward, the clearer it became. I had no regrets. I'd done what I had to do, no matter how painful. One day, I finally handed over the keys to her apartment. I wanted her to understand I was serious about cutting ties. I wrote her a letter, just a simple note: "It's over. Take care of yourself." I left the envelope on the doorstep and walked away. No drama, no fuss, just a definitive end. Looking back, I realized the biggest lesson I learned from all this: you can't force trust. People will betray you, even those you love. But what you can do is take control when it happens. Look for the signs, gather your evidence, and if you decide to confront, do it on your own terms. Best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's reclaiming your life and walking away with your head held high. So if you're ever in a similar boat, trust your gut, stay vigilant, and remember, sometimes the only way to win is to walk away stronger. That's what I did, and honestly, I feel a hell of a lot better. In the end, what I learned most of all is that betrayal cuts deeper than you expect. I thought I was just losing a wife, a future I'd planned, but it turned out I was losing what little trust I had left in people. That pain was intense, like a punch to the gut, and it made me question everything I believed in. But more than anything, it forced me to look at myself and realize I had the power to rebuild, to start over on my own terms. Walking away was the hardest thing I ever did, but it was also the best decision I ever made. When I handed over the keys to her apartment, I felt a strange sense of relief, like I was finally shedding the weight of all her lies and deception. I knew I'd never forget what happened, but I also knew I wouldn't let it define me. I was still here, still standing, and I was going to be okay. Looking back, I see the lessons clearly now. Don't ignore small red flags. Trust your instincts, even if they seem overcautious. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. Don't make excuses or hope they'll change. And when the time comes, don't hesitate to cut loose the people who hurt you. Revenge isn't about revenge anymore. It's about reclaiming your dignity and peace. Since all this unfolded, I've become more cautious, yes, but I've also become stronger. I don't waste my time on people who don't deserve it. I focus on myself, my goals, and the people who genuinely care about me. That feeling, that sense of control again, is worth more than all the apologies and tears in the world. To anyone reading this who's going through something similar, here's my advice. Listen to your gut. Gather evidence if you have to. Don't be afraid to confront. Just do it on your own terms. And if you decide that enough is enough, walk away without looking back. The pain will fade, and what's left is a newfound sense of freedom. Because in the end, the best revenge isn't making her regret. It's living your life better than you ever did before she betrayed you. That's what I choose to do now. And I hope everyone out there finds the strength to do the same.